Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Picks to Watch. Patch 8.4 is bringing a wealth of changes that are likely going to affect the upcoming professional meta. So we are going to look at some of the fun and interesting champions that will be affecting that meta. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. We begin with an embrace that can leave you petrified. It's Cassiopeia.
Let me in.
The Bewitching Serpent is known for her strong early dueling power in lane thanks to the spam ability of her Noxious Blast and Twin Fang combo, both of which are further enhanced when you factor in the power of her miasma. The grounding effect, combined with the possible setup for early ganks, makes her lethal should you step into her territory. Both of these factors will be very valuable as well moving into the new patch, where more early skirmishes are expected to happen due to the removal of Tracker's Knife. Moving into the enemy jungle with your partner will make your enemies think twice before taking their next step. Her scaling is something that shouldn't be underestimated either. There's no antidote for the insane amount of single target damage in her late game. The Noxian Viper also provides strong zone control, along with the threat of a gaze that can swing the fight quickly in your favor. Speaking of scaling, both Baron and Dragon received some buffs on the recent patch. Unfortunately for them, Cassia prefers to be the dominant species on the Rift, and is therefore great at securing these objectives thanks to her incredibly high damage output. But with no built-in escapes, this not-so-slippery serpent needs to be cautious. Hard crowd control is something she has to be wary of, or risk being trapped and turned into a new purse for her pursuers. Currently, the majority of pros will look to rush a tier of the goddess and follow this up with an Abyssal Mask. Some will then choose to pick up the Rylai's Crystal Scepter for an extra bit of sticking power, while others prefer the Liandry's for more consistent damage output. Up next, we have the newly appointed Noxian Grand General. It's Swain.
Empire above all.
Keeping up with the recent trend of buffs on the newest patch, the Master Tactician receives some new strategies that can bring him into pro play. Often compared to Vladimir, Swain acts as an effective lane bully against many tanks and melee top laners. With strong poke from his Death's Hand and Never Move, he can easily create pressure and consistent poke, while also providing easy to set up gank opportunities in combination with his passive Ravenous. A mighty general is nothing without good planning and crowd control. Due to his ability to drag in any immobilized target, a good stun onto a key target can allow for a quick follow-up and easy pick that the rest of the team can capitalize on. Teamfights are where the former poet really draws a crowd. Crowd. His ultimate, Demonic Ascension, turns him into a battle mage that can soak up tons of damage and dish it out twice full. The longer the battle draws, the greater the danger grows as he reaches his Demon Flare state that hurts as much as it sounds. Of course, what is a general without his army? He provides limited crowd control in large fights and is reliant on his teammates to provide the setup. The big thing that the winged commander must respect is the potency of grievous wounds. Hindering his regeneration can hurt his impact in fights, and could quaff the Raven nevermore. In terms of itemization, there are a wealth of options depending on your playstyle. Many pros agree that the core revolves around Abyssal Mask, Liandry's, and Zhonya's, as they facilitate his bruiser nature, synergize nicely with his consistent damage output, and allow him to stall should the situation go south. It's time to make way, sniveling cubs, because our last pick to watch is the battle spirit of the Freljord, Volibear. He got touched up on patch 8.4, imbuing his early clear speed along with his gap closing ability and damage output. While at early levels it might be tricky to proc enough stacks of Frenzy, it can deal a surprising amount of burst throughout all stages of the game, while also providing execute potential against tanks. Combine all this with the Dr. Mundo levels of crazy regeneration from his passive, and you have one ferocious demigod who can easily match many of the current meta junglers prowling the Rift. Though Aftershock and Grasp are viable options for him, they provide a more efficient laning phase on the top lane. For jungling though, much like how we saw Skarner getting more popular, the Predator rune could be the go-to choice. Grab your early boots and activate your recently buffed Q, and being hit by Thunder will be the least of your enemy's worries. You might argue that though he excels at engaging, in the current teamfight meta he lacks consistent AoE damage. While his bite certainly hurts, the Shaman can also bend lightning to his will. Thunderclaws allows him to threaten the backline in a fight if they dare stand too close to the tanks up front. Now, while he can prove to be hard to take down, he is certainly not without flaws, and can get kited easily after his initial engage, that extremely mobile champions should not have issues against. As for the item selection, you'll most of the time see Volibear build full tank, going Cinderhulk into Warmog's armor. Righteous Glory and Spirit Visage are likely to be rounding out your build, but should you be looking for more damage output, Titanic Hydra is the way to go. No matter what path you choose though, I don't quite think the enemy will ever look to hug you the same way Annie does Tibbers. That does it for this episode of Picks to Watch. Be sure to go down into the comment section below and let me know which fun and interesting champions you're looking forward to on the next patch. If you are interested in seeing some of the new stuff, be sure to tune in to the European LCS this week at 6 PM CET, which will be the first region to broadcast the new stuff. With that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I can't.